So that's essentially the center of the pipe. It's like 12 1/8.
That cut right towards you was definitely OSHA approved.
Yeah, you're probably right. Just tear it up.
That's what I thought. Doesn't fit that way. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I want to make something that holds this from falling too far down.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll box frame it in to where it's level. I'm leaving this pass-through box loose. What I have it is about where I think it's going to fall, to where it's going to give me enough clearance between the combustible materials in this area, according to the manufacturer, what they state it should be away from it. And I'm going to leave it loose until we get the top part figured out, because insulated pipes can't be cut down. This will give me a little bit of adjustment. If I need to come down a little bit farther to make them work properly, I can do that. I have to cut through the Tyvek in order to mark our center line for the chimney on the roof. I'm going to cut it down the middle, and after we get the attic box in here, what I'll do is I'll come back and I will tape this and seal it to the attic box, because that heat shield is effectively 2 inches away from the insulated chimney pipe, and you are allowed to run flammables up to that point. So this will butt right up to it just for our air barrier and to keep our insulation in, and it'll get taped really well around there. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a nail embedded cutting blade for these multi-tools, and just in about 8 nails, it smoked this thing. I don't understand how these blades are so bad. I'm assuming you can only, even though it says it's good for nails, you must only be able to use maybe carbide tipped or diamond tipped blades or something. I don't know. Flashing this chimney with this really steep pitch isn't as straightforward as you would think. They don't make a rubber boot to go around at that 2612 pitch angle for a chimney pipe to go on a metal roof. And they also don't make a specific flashing for 2612 pitch to go directly on a metal roof. There are several brands that make stainless steel and galvanized options for doing exactly what we're doing. However, most of those only go up to 2112 pitch. So this was pretty much our only option. I would say that this flashing is actually made for a shingled roof just because of how wide it is. Usually the ones for metal roofing have a slight bend and like a lip. This is one of the only flashings that I could find that will work with our steep pitch, and it only comes in galvanized, which is very ugly. And especially since it has all these rub spots on it, and it just doesn't look very good at all, especially where the silicone is. That's really unfortunate that they had the silicone that seam right where you got to look at it. What I'm doing is I'm breaking up the finish on it so that paint can stick to it better, and then I'm going to put a coat of primer and a coat of black paint on it so that it matches the roof better. It should look a lot better than this messed up galvanized looking metal.
Right here.
We've cleared out our shelter logic because we don't really have a place that we can paint anything, especially this time of year. We need to heat this up get it warm enough so that the paint can stick and start to dry. And set this up in here kind of like a little paint booth, and we're going to use this diesel torpedo heater. We were having some major problems with this thing. I ended up taking it apart, and I found out that, I guess over the last 2 years of storage, the hoses have dry rotted, and I had to replace the vacuum hose coming from the compressor to the fuel tank and from the fuel tank to the injector. But now it seems to be working great, so we're going to get it fired up and get this airspace warmed up so that we can paint in here. Well, it's still doing this. I think the grease on that motor gets frozen to the shaft with the electric motor. It is like 80 degrees in here. It's pretty crazy. This thing warmed it up so quick. Shaking up my self-etching primer. We're going to do a coat of primer, and then we'll do a coat of black paint over that. And I think that this will dry it pretty quick, as warm as it is in here, hopefully.
It like melted all the snow off of that.
Let it bake on there for a little while, and then we'll put some black paint on there. Let that dry some and see how it looks.
This is a Vermont Castings Aspen stove, and we brought this with us from Pennsylvania. We actually got this from my parents when we did a garage clean out for them. I want to say in like 2016, and it's brand new, and it's just been in storage since then. It's never been used. They had it in storage, then we haven't had it in storage. We brought it up with us, and it has a little bit of surface rust on it. But what we're going to do is we're going to get this cleaned up and repainted. We know that this is a little small for our cabin, but because we already had it and brought it with us, we're going to use it until we can get a bigger, more efficient stove.
Wouldn't you have thought it would have had a seal up there?
Well, it had that cast iron piece.
I know, but...
I feel like I almost need like a toothbrush to get down in those. I know. It literally did make it a swamp.
Professional paint booth here. Isn't too good when it's bright, but man, it's like a lifesaver for a lot of these building projects to get them right. This is a 36-inch support box. To my knowledge, this is the biggest lengthwise box that you can get for this application. And basically what this does is this goes up into through the attic space or the cathedral ceiling, and it keeps the insulation away from the insulated pipe inside. You can see we have a piece of Class A pipe sitting in there. And the reason for that is you have to maintain 2 inches distance all the way around from that pipe in case if there's a chimney fire, because that pipe can get really hot if there's a chimney fire, and it could catch your insulation on fire. We have to actually add onto this and make it slightly taller because the biggest one they make just isn't tall enough to reach all the way to the top of the ceiling. So what I'm gonna do now is, we had these pieces of metal here bent up, and this is galvanized roofing steel. It's actually very similar to what this is made out of, about the same gauge as well. We're gonna cut a small section out of this and attach it to here and extend it up to continue this slope to get us all the way through the roof deck. And that way we have a continuous shield all the way up. So we need about
Good morning. We're back out here this morning, and the goal for today is to get our hole cut in the roof for the chimney and get it fully installed. We are having a little bit of unseasonably warm weather. It's been in the mid-30s here, and unfortunately that means it's bringing in a lot of rain. So we got a little bit of a break in the weather right now, so we're going to try and get the hole cut while it's not raining and it's sunny out and see how far we can get today.
cutting a hole in a perfectly good roof.
I know. You are absolutely covered in sawdust.
I know, it's even in my mouth. Because
Oh, you got it.
here, maybe
Yep. Oh,
back down. Okay.
just a little bit. Okay, that should be enough for me to push it
All right, so should I come up? So you want
a quarter inch.
me to go up?
A quarter inch. Right there.
Perfect. Back on the roof again.
Luckily it's not. I need to move the ladder down and put it like.
See what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to temporarily start it. What we have here is our universal shielding insulation. This goes down inside of the attic shield. So the part that we put through the roof will actually stuff this insulation down in, and it'll go around the Class A chimney. Apparently, this insulation has a higher burn rating than even rock wool. Not sure how that's possible, but according to the manufacturer, this is the only thing that they specify that you can put inside of those shields and not risk the chance of it catching on fire if you have a chimney fire. So we're gonna get it out of here and get it trimmed up, and then I have to take it up on the roof and fish it down in there, and then we can work our way up. There's our first piece. Perfect. It's only 2 feet below the roof. That'll work.
We were able to finish up the chimney flashing just in time for the rain. We did want to get everything finished up tonight and get that hole covered because we are supposed to get heavy rains this evening. We did decide to put the chimney cap on just so the rain doesn't fall down into the house through the chimney, but tomorrow hopefully we'll get a break in the rain. If not, it won't be too big of a deal to just run up there quick, put the second section on. We also didn't want to put the other 4-foot section on without bracing this evening in case we get heavy winds as well. So we got all of that done, the hole's covered up, and we'll finish up tomorrow. Good morning. We are really glad that we got that flashing installed last night and got the hole in our roof covered up because we got a ton of rain. One thing I wanted to point out today was we had a couple of questions asking if this was a creek bed down below our cabin, and yes it is. And something interesting that happened overnight was we got so much rain, and because there's a lot of ice and snow buildup down there, the water had nowhere to go and ended up overflowing the creek. The creek actually starts kind of way back here, and then it branches off into 2 creeks and flows down through our property, and then it meets back up. But because of all of the rain last night, it had nowhere to go, and so the bottom here is completely flooded. And normally you can't see this time of year. It's usually frozen, but it is raining a little bit right now. We are supposed to get a couple hour break in the rain before it starts back up again, and so we're going to try and get the rest of that chimney installed. Go on. You can get in. Go ahead. That stick's attached, bud.
because of the steep pitch of the roof, this original length of this roof brace is way too long. So we had to shorten it up to make it work for us. And I think it's going to work out good now. I just got to get up there and try it out.
Woohoo! No more roof work for a while.
Rain's dripping off of me.
I guess it's so you can't tighten it down enough to break it.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if it's possible to break it from tightening too much. I don't want to do that. Just like that.
Oh, it's going down. There you go.
The wind doesn't blow this over.
I know. Before we put the wood stove inside, we wanted to get a fire started in it outside, and that's because we don't want any paint fumes in there when we light it for the first time inside the cabin. It's not the best weather conditions to do this in. It is really windy and rainy today, so now that this is burning, we're gonna head inside and work on the hearth. It took the top.
I mean, every ash went,
Straight up. Did it go all the way out?
for the most part, they're gone. That's crazy.
We're about to put the wood stove that we have currently onto this hearth. And unfortunately, right now we're back to below freezing temps and it's just too cold for mortar and grout to cure. So we aren't going to do tile on it just yet, but that is in the plans for a future project. But we did want to get the wood stove up and working so that way we can knock off the chill while we're prepping for our insulation, because we are approaching the coldest part of the year. This wood stove is probably going to look a little silly on here because it is a little small for this hearth, because we built the hearth for the wood stove that we're planning to get in the future. Yeah, I'm just letting you do what you need to do.
Forward or towards me?
Towards you.
I think I can extend this up and down here.
Alright.
Tilt this back a little bit that way.
It should be 16 and a half exactly on both sides. This side's dead on, so it's good. Well, this is really exciting that we have our first fire in our cabin. This is going to be really awesome for being able to insulate in here and knock the chill off. And we wanted to get a fire in here before we started the chase upstairs. And that's to make sure that there's no leaks or anything around each of the joints in the pipe. And it looks like it's drafting well and that we don't have any leaks. It does look like it's smoking a little bit on the top, and that's just burning off all of the ice that it had accumulated on it while it was outside after the fire went out and it rained on it. So we're gonna let this burn for a little bit. It is getting kind of late, so we're gonna head in for the evening and get working on the chase tomorrow.
Dent hidden.
Right in the center. Yeah, you can't really put it on the back. Oh, the door open is making it go.
I'm hitting some of these spots that I believe would be an air leak, and the reason why is because we do have to air seal around this box with our vapor barrier after the insulation's in, and I don't want it to have a spot to suck warm air through there and create condensation.
I don't know.
Okay, I just need to put a couple screws in it and then we'll get the other one started. The Class A chimney manufacturer recommends that you have a chase around any exposed pipe like this in a livable area. So what we did is we made one out of metal here, and we're gonna fully enclose it. This will be removable, and it'll be vented to let the heat out as well. I am using a type of caulk that's rated for enough heat that this could possibly be exposed to where it shouldn't break down. The manufacturer does state that you can build this out of wood and drywall as long as you're keeping your 2 inches of clearance. However, I just feel like since this is gonna be in a closet, this will be a nice clean way to design this with this sheet metal. And it essentially just mimics the 2 boxes that are already here, and it'll make it nice and uniform and as tight a tolerance as possible without losing an extra 2 inches on each side from a 2x4. There it is.
Even though we still have a long way to go and it might seem like a small step, this feels like a big relief to us having heat in the cabin. And we wanted to get this done before we did insulation, and the main reason for that is because any wall protrusions or roof protrusions that we have, like the cathedral box going through the ceiling with the chimney, and any vents that we have, it's just going to make a mess when we try and cut into insulation. So it was really important that we got this done now and any of that other stuff as well.
Yeah, to reiterate on that, it's because we're doing ground up cellulose and it's densely packed in there with a blower. And all that's holding that in is netting. So anytime that we'd have to cut through that netting, all of your cellulose can fall out. So any protrusion like that through the roof or through a wall, it's better to set up for that now. That way we don't have that mess of all that cellulose falling out.
And that might make a little more sense once we get to that part of our build.
Yeah, which is probably
Gonna be soon.
Yeah, it's gonna be very soon.
We do plan to tile underneath of the wood stove, and we are planning to build a wall back behind it as well. And we want to tile that too, but right now it's just too chilly out for mortar to cure, and we don't want to have any issues with that. So we're just gonna wait until it's warmer, and we might even wait until we have our permanent stove in here.
We do want to go to a catalytic stove, but right now we don't have nearly enough seasoned wood to even take advantage of a catalyst stove. So that'll be a probably fall thing. Maybe we'll install one around fall time, and hopefully by then we'll have some wood that's pretty dried out.
So that's why it might look a little silly with a tiny stove here on a big hearth, but we did have this stove already. We brought it with us from Pennsylvania, and we're really grateful that we had it, because we do also plan to have a second source of heat with an oil furnace, but we don't know when we're going to be able to install that. So we're really thankful that we had this already and brought it with us, because it's a source of heat.
Yeah. This really does knock the chill off in here.
It's really warm. Like, I feel like I could take
I'm sure all the heat's going right out the roof, but it's definitely knocking off the chill.
And well, it did drop down a little bit below operating
It's almost
temperature.
out of wood now.
And that's another reason why we want to go with a bigger stove with a better burn time as well, because most of the wood that we're going to be burning here is spruce, and it just has a pretty terrible burn time compared to hardwood, which is what we're used to. And this stove, will probably have to feed it every couple of hours.
Yeah, probably every 2 hours just to keep it going is what I would imagine. A wood stove with a 4 to 5 cubic foot probably would go 15 hours with a catalytic combustor, I would imagine.
Right.
I don't know. We'll have to find out. They claim that they can go 40 hours on hardwood, so that could really cut back on the amount of wood that we need to keep on hand in general, or split and stack every year.
We do still have a little bit of prep work to do before we put in our insulation, but we'll keep you guys updated on that. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. This is so warm, I don't want to get up.
I know.
I could just sit here all night. My little cup of hot chocolate.
Maybe if we had a comfier chair. I don't know about sitting on this board.